Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to our next lesson on humans and their populations. So we're looking at populations and generally how humans have impacted the world. So in this lesson, we're pretty much going over the population patterns of humans. So first of all, when it comes to the humans, modern humans pretty much extend historically to about 10,000 years ago. There were about 5 million humans 10,000 years ago. That's not a lot. 5 million is, it's like the population of the city of like Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio combined. So it's not a lot of people. Um, and as the centuries go by, the population increases. By the early 1800s, we get to about a billion people. Now, here's a distinction. Between 1804 and 2021, we see an increase from 1 billion to 7, almost 8 billion people. So in those in between years, the population increased exponentially. Now, what does exponentially mean? Exponentially means it just goes up straight shot. Between 10,000 years and 1804, which is like about 11 or 12,000 years, human populations barely reached a billion. So it went up a little bit, 5 million, maybe up to 10 million, then 12 and 13. Then we may have received certain catastrophes over the centuries and devastations over the years that kind of decrease, or certain prosperous moments in time which may have impacted that, which may have increased it. But in the past 200 years, it is exponentially increased gradually, exponentially increased over the years. So this may affect our Earth's population, our Earth's environment a lot. Uh, this generally affects the Earth's, our human population density. So pretty much how we get that human population density is we get the area of the Earth and we determine how many humans are on it. And then we do the math and we're able to see how many people live in 1 square mile. For example, some places are more densely populated than others. When you say population density, it's how much people live in a certain area where it kind of squeezes in too much or too little. For example, if you're living in a rural area, rural means like a farming area, you may have 2 people per 30 square miles, which is not a lot of people. That's very little people. However, a population dense area might have 1,000 people per square mile or 5,000 people per square mile. Places that are very dense are places like urban cities, New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston. You have a lot of people in a small amount of space. Places all over the world similar to that. Mexico City, China, cities like Beijing and Shanghai. Those are very population dense areas. Now, there are areas of the world that are not population dense, like Antarctica. There's not a lot of people who live there. There's probably like one person per 300 or 3,000 square miles. Very little amount of people. So that population density affects different environments all around the world. Now, since the population density affects different places around the world, we humans may have an impact on that certain region of the world, depending on what we do. Again, our increased industrialization affects what happens in a general area. For example, a place that is very population dense will have a lot of pollution. It will have a lot of difficulties managing spread of disease. You should know or should remember back in 2020, you had the COVID-19 pandemic. What are the things that they wanted to do? was to have people go inside their homes because that decreases the density of the population in crowded or specific areas. So people who live in big cities or big cities had a harder problem combating disease because disease spreads in a very densely populated area. But disease doesn't really spread that much in very rural areas because you're living in a place where there's not a lot of people. So it takes a while to spread from person to person. Again, industrialization really impacts this. If a certain group of people live in an area where they require a lot of resources, it requires that specific place on the map to give up a lot of its resources. While they would have to look to places that are not population dense to gather those resources. So humans and their population density affect the different areas of the world. Alrighty, guys, that is our lesson. I'll see you later.